Hello everyone, and welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to speak with each and every single one of you today. First things first, if you are here, post in the comments. Let me know that you're watching. Let me know that everything sounds good. I'm really excited to answer any questions that you might have that come up. So let me know down in the comments below that you are here. I'm going to go ahead and say hi to some of you. I'm going to bring up the comments here. Let's see. Carlo, thank you so much for watching. Matt, hashtag live stream. Thanks for being here. We've got Greg watching, and Andy from the 916. Andy, what's going on, my friend? Paul, thank you so much for tuning into the live stream. Everyone, let me know that I am sounding beautiful and clear in the comments because I'm actually getting over a cold. And so my voice using like the ultimate great podcast microphone probably makes me sound way better than I actually sound in person. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for letting me know that I sound good. As we go along, if you have any questions, put them in those comments. Put them in the comments, okay? Let me know that you're here, and I will do my best to answer as many of the questions that come up today. I've got a good chunk of content to get through, so I want to make sure that we can get into that, and then I will come back kind of intermittently to answer any questions. So today I am running this live stream from my studio, and thank you, Greg, for the compliments on this shirt. This is my promo products guy, gets my branding printed on everything. What y'all can't see is actually it says Video Crew down the side, right there, yep, and it's actually across the back of the shoulders. Now, if you're watching on the replay, give me a hashtag replay in the comments to let me know that you watched on the replay. Okay, so thank you all for joining. I'm going to jump in as quickly as possible to the content, but the first thing I want to do is introduce myself because I'm a little bit of a newcomer to the group, to the content creators community on Facebook, as well as to those of you watching this as a recorded video later on. And so I'm going to give some brief background. I'm going to tell you who I am. And then we're going to dive into some deals to talk about pricing and our strategy and how we decided to price them out, how much we were able to bring in from some of them. And I've actually got two of the final products where I won't show the whole thing because they were long events, but I'll give you a little sneak peek at what some of that actually looked like as a final product. So who am I? My name is Zephan Moses Blacksburg. I am from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised. I've been here my whole life. I went to college at James Madison University, so go Dukes. If any of you know of JMU, we absolutely love our school. I went to college for film. That's what I studied. I even studied it back in high school. I remember getting my first video camera when I was 13 years old. It was a bar mitzvah present from my father. He took me to Circuit City, doesn't even exist anymore, and he said, pick out a camera, any camera you want. And I had this awesome little Sony Handycam, and I've been making videos ever since. Now, around the 2013 mark, I quit my job. I was working for Apple at the time, and I started ZMB Media, which is my business that I run right now. So this logo that you see on my shirt right here, this company has been around since May of 2013 when I left the 9-to-5 world. And I started my company with the goal of creating a video production studio. Now, the funny thing was it actually took me 7 years until the end of 2020 in the middle of a global pandemic to actually open up a physical space, a real studio. You're here actually in my office right now. The studio's through that glass window right over there. And it took me that long because I had to learn so many things along the way. I worked with coaches, I worked with mentors. I had to figure out how to run a business all on my own. And I really didn't have a whole lot of help along the way. So it was important to find those mentors, to find those people that could teach me so that I could get all of the information that I needed in order to create a successful business, which is why we're able to open up our studio in the middle of a pandemic last year. So that is some quick background on me and who I am. So let's get into everything that y'all are actually here for, and that is kind of a deal deep dive. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over and show you my computer screen that I have just below the camera here so that you can see these deals in real time as I work through them. And then I'll also put myself up in the corner too, so there isn't any sort of like man behind the curtain going on. You're actually going to see my face throughout, and this is a real live stream. So again, if you're here with me, hashtag live in the comments, let me know. Any questions that you have that come up throughout, of course, post them, and I'm going to see them right here just behind the camera, and I'm going to answer those, as many as I can, live on screen. So one thing to take note of, I'm running this live stream on my own. This is something that has taken me a little bit to master. So if anything kind of comes up, if anything weird happens or I hit a wrong button, that's because I'm trying to present and run a live stream at the same time. Normally, I'm just behind the camera. And so this is something that's a little bit newer to me, but I would feel really comfortable if you all just keep going in the comments, keep letting me know that you're here, and we're going to rock and roll. So let me jump over and show you my computer screen. So this is my computer screen, and let's bring me up in the corner. Hey there. Hey everyone. So I'm going to show you a couple of deal deep dives today. I'm going to show you the exact invoice and estimate. We're going to talk a little bit about how each client came in, where I found them, or how they found me. And then we'll talk about pricing and our strategy. So let's bring up the first one. Now, I have gone ahead and covered up just the important business information on these just to kind of protect the innocent. So I'm not going to show you their contact information, but outside of that, these are real estimates and invoices that have been sent to clients. So this very first one, the total price was $19,215. This was just this summer. The second one that we'll go over, the invoice itself, while the amount showing due is $0, you have to actually look down here. So this was basically showing that we were subtracting for a deposit payment. So the total is actually double this. It's $4,900 for this one. The next one that we'll go through, this estimate, which is a real stream. This is a real landed gig. I know it says estimate. That's just how I pulled the PDF from my financial software. This one is $13,175. And then our last one that we'll go over is $1,900. So these are all very, very different live streams, as you can tell from the pricing. And I just wanted to show you these numbers first to kind of explain that, you know, live streaming is something that is so scalable. It's something that you can do on a small level. It is something you can do on a big level. And regardless, you can get paid a really great price for the effort that you're putting into it. So let's jump back to this very first one, and let's talk about this client for just a little bit. So this invoice, or this estimate, which was a paid invoice, was for a private school in Baltimore, Maryland, in my hometown, that was looking to have a couple of events live streamed. They went ahead and put up one of those big white tents in their parking lot because they knew that with COVID restrictions, they were not going to be able to get everybody under one roof legally in one building with all of the restrictions going on. So they found me actually because a year prior, I had done a live stream for them, but as a contractor for an audio person. So a good friend of mine who referred me this gig basically said, hey, they're looking for you to live stream again, but I don't want to be a part of this because they don't really need me and I have a full-time job now. So he basically just said, you figure this out. This is all on you. This is your project. So how do we arrive at this $19,215 number? It's kind of arbitrary if you think about it. You would think that it might end in zeros or 99 or something like that. So let's run through and talk about how we priced this out and what we were delivering to them. And then after I go through all of these really quickly, then we'll get into talking about how we create these prices. So this particular quote, I'm going to pull this out of full screen for a second. This particular quote, this includes multiple live streams, as you'll see here. So the first one, and I'm just line itemizing these as live stream. I'm not going in and saying pre-production. I'm not going in and saying, videographer, editor, production assistant, this, that. I don't do that because our clients will typically come back and say, oh, well, can we save some money if we don't do this? Or, why do we need that? And so this is one of my best tips for you when you're pricing your projects is we typically don't recommend showing each and every little detail in what you're pricing for, because otherwise they're going to try the a la carte method where they pick and pull things out and they don't realize in a live streaming setup and really in a video setup that every one decision you make impacts like 5 other things. So, think about it. If you removed your key light from your setup, it's going to impact how your whole setup is lit and where the person needs to sit. Maybe you needed to move them to leverage natural light coming in through a window, right? So this is why we do that this way. So this first live stream was for a baccalaureate mass. This is an event where they basically hold a mass. It's a private school. It's a religious private school. So they have a priest and they have a few other people that participate in the mass. We build this for 7 hours from arrival to departure. So we included a live stream director, a technical director, and a camera operator. Live stream director was me, so I'm there switching the cameras back and forth. Our technical director is helping to not only keep me on time, but also keep track of any of our graphics or things that we need to put up on screen, and he's putting those up on screen at the time that we need it. He's also kind of acting as just my backup. If I need somebody to get up and go run out somewhere, if I need somebody to go grab a camera or fix something or whatever it is, that's kind of my backup person. So I always like to have at least 2 people there. And then, of course, we had a camera operator. Now, on this particular event, we did have an intern with us as well. We have interns that work with us from a local university. So that gave us an extra person that we didn't have to bill for, but we could have billed for having, like a production assistant on site. They were really just an extra hand to help us with the setup, the load in, the load out, things like that. Now, audio on this one was provided by a third-party vendor. We have a couple of audio companies that we work with locally, and what we did was we went to them and said, hey, here are the needs, tell us how much it costs, and typically we're adding a little bit on the top. So let's say they came to us and they said, our price is going to be $1,350. We're billing for $1,700, which you can see within this itemized sheet right here. So we have that right down here under audio. And that just lists out what they're going to bring with them. So I usually just have the audio company just send me a quick little blurb. Below that, all of our equipment, so cabling, cameras, you name it, our switcher, everything like that, we're listing that here. We did put a price for that. And then project management. So we conduct a site survey well in advance to determine the needs of the event, the needs of the venue. We're testing internet speeds. We're looking for power. In this case, they brought in a humongous generator that was super silent, which was good and made things much easier for us. So that is the first live stream that we build for a total of $6,845. I'm going to get into more of the pricing and how each of these items are kind of counted out a little bit here. But again, any questions, just let me know down in the comments. I will be sure to bring those topics up as soon as I see your questions come through. So same invoice, because they came to us, they said we have multiple events. Second event was graduation. Now graduation, if you look at the price, it's like $100 more, $130 more, give or take. And the only real difference was that project management went down. Project management is now $400 because we're no longer doing a site survey that we had on the first one. Equipment, we billed for $1,750 for both. Audio on the first one, we had at $1,700, but on this one, the audio company gave us a lower price, so we had it as $1,500. And again, we're probably billing for a little bit on top of their price so that we can cover our expenses and what it takes for us to, have to do all the paperwork and send out a check to them and make sure they're paid on time, things of that nature. So It's a very, very similar gig. It's still 7 hours from arrival to departure. Really nothing is changing from that first one other than just a few minor details like the whole no site survey thing and the audio side. But on our side, on the video and live streaming side, our pricing hasn't changed. Now, the third and final one with this project was a live stream for an alumni reunion. The alumni reunion just had alumni coming back from, I think, like 50 and 60 years ago to the school. So these are people who are much older, but it's kind of a nice event to recognize them and, thank them for remaining an active part of the alumni community. Now, the price went down. So notice our total price is $5,395, whereas the other ones were in the $6,000 range. Why did it go down? We still retained our 7 hours from arrival to departure for the event. The audio is again lower at $1,500, but for this particular event, and you see it here, no iMag, no image magnification. So we basically took out a little bit of equipment, a few of the features and bells and whistles that they had from the other two live streams. And so that's really why our price was cheaper. That's also another thing that we're much more willing to do when a client is booking us for multiple gigs, because we want to say, hey, thanks for hiring us again. Thanks for bringing us back multiple times. We want to reward you for doing that and for staying a loyal customer. So that's this invoice for this event. I'm going to go ahead and put this guy down at the bottom there. Let's jump over to the next one. Okay, the next one, this one is great because this is actually an event that's going on right now. Completely different needs, completely different type of live streaming. This is something I'm actually doing this week. I've been doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning today, and then tomorrow, Thursday, I am also participating in this as well. Much smaller gig, as you can tell from the pricing. This is $1,900 total. And what this is I'm basically playing producer. I'm just billing at a consulting fee of $100 an hour. And I'm essentially an over-glorified like Zoom multi-pinner. So using Microsoft Teams, we're basically just helping them run the event and pin the people that are speaking when it's their turn. And this is something that is just very different from any of the other streams that I do. So I'm going to actually switch over here to my camera so I can talk to all of you. So this event is much, much more different. This one doesn't require me to bring a live stream switcher. It doesn't even require me to bring a camera. I just use my built-in webcam with my computer because everyone is virtual. Everyone's just calling in on Microsoft Teams from their computer in their home. I use my nice microphone just because it's here in the office and that's what I have available to me. But all that I'm really billing for is just the amount of time that I'm with them. Now, the funny thing with this project was that this project came in from a company or an organization really that we were already working with, that we had already done multiple in-person live streams for. And what happened was they actually had somebody who was on their team who was kind of their in-house live stream guy. And that person left the organization and they said, our IT guys don't know how to do this. We only had one guy who was doing this. You're our person that we hire for nicer live streams. We realize this doesn't require actual streaming. You're just kind of sitting behind a computer. Can you do this for us? And I flat out told them, I never use Microsoft Teams. I don't have a Microsoft account. Everything I have is Mac. I am happy to learn it for you. And they said, you know what? We will pay you for 3 hours of your time. We'll give you a crash course and everything we know. We'll show you how to do it. It's insanely easy. And sure enough, it is. It's kind of just like running a Zoom meeting. And I figured, I'm very computer literate. I'm very literate with Zoom, so it's got to be super easy. So this is how this project happened. We basically, and I'm going to bring this back up for you, we're basically just billing on an hourly basis for the amount of time that we're putting into this. And if you notice, each day I'm showing here that daily I'm billing from 7 a.m. to 11. It shouldn't say P, it's technically a.m. It's only a 4-hour time block. But what I like to do here is I tell my clients that I bill in a minimum of a 4-hour time block, because if they're going to reserve half of my day and let's say they only use me for 90 minutes or 2 hours, that's preventing me from being able to go out and take other work and take other projects, and I'd basically be losing money, because if I'm stuck here for, an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon, I'm going to lose money because I can't do a full project in the in-between time. So I'm just billing at a minimum of 4 hours each day, even though we're really only live from about, I think it's 8 a.m. until maybe 9:30, 9:45-ish. And this allows me to bring in $1,600 this week just for spending a couple hours out of my morning, Monday through Thursday. And then, of course, because they said, hey, look, we want to pay you to do training, I billed them for 3 hours for pre-production time, including hours for phone calls, emails, planning. We did a little dry run. And so this week alone, other projects aside, everything else that's going on aside, essentially $2,000 is coming in to sit at a computer, manage a couple things on that computer. Pretty good deal if you ask me. Let's go ahead and jump into another one. Remember, we've got 4 of these that we're covering in various prices. Bring myself back up on screen here so you can see me. Hey there, friends. If you're just joining in live now, let me know. Put hashtag live in that comment section. Let me know. All right, so this is a $13,000 175 estimate. This is for a synagogue. So how do we get this client? This client was referred to us through an IT company that recently took over the synagogue's IT infrastructure. And they were speaking with the rabbi, and the rabbi said, hey, I'm brand new to this congregation. They just hired me 2 weeks ago. We need to handle high holiday services. We need to be able to live stream and get a virtual audience for that. And they said, look, we've got this great guy, Zephan, locally. And how did I know this IT firm? Well, they were in my BNI chapter. So I meet weekly with a BNI chapter. That's been gold for me to have those connections. So if you're not in a BNI chapter, I highly recommend looking into it and seeing what chapters you have locally. So we went in, we conducted a site survey, and I said, look, Rabbi, I can't give you a price just yet because we need to learn a little bit about your setup at the synagogue. But the good news is, because we know your IT company, when we come to do our site survey, they're going to help us make sure that internet is not an issue. And really, all we're just going to discuss with you is kind of some logistics and what the events will look like. So here's how we priced for these events. First one, Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. And for any of you that are looking at these numbers, by the way, and thinking, that's crazy, like $13,000, I would love to be making that right now, we're going to share an opportunity at the end of this video where you can learn how to start live streaming and how to do this too. But for those of you that are already live streaming or thinking about jumping into it sooner than later, the high holidays are coming up. It's the first week of September. So being like the second week of August right now, this is the time right now where synagogues are going to be reaching out and trying to find someone. And because high holidays are all on the same day at the same time, there is going to be a shortage of live streaming and video production companies that are capable of covering all of this. So talk about low-hanging fruit here right now, guys. This is an available opportunity that is ripe for the picking. It's ready for the taking. So this program, our arrival, we booked it a little earlier than we usually do because it's our first day with them. We wanted to kind of show face earlier. So we said we're arriving at 2 o'clock. We're live at 6:30. Or I'm sorry, we're doing a sound check at 6:30. We're live at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a 2-hour service. And then we booked 1 hour for loadout time. So we're not actually going live until 6 hours after we arrive. And this was actually at the request of the rabbi. They really wanted to make sure that we were there with plenty of time to set up, do our sound checks and everything. And they were willing to pay for it. This was something that we said, look, if we're going to bring a team of 2 or 3 people there, we need to be compensated for that time. And so this event overall from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., we're looking at 9 hours total. I'm billing them 8 hours from arrival to departure. That's just one of those things that I kind of adjusted to make it look like, we're doing them a favor. We're really trying to help them out. So we said, look, this arrival time, we'll get here an hour early just so that you guys feel comfortable. We won't bill you for that time. And that's something where I can stagger my other people coming in. So if I have contractors coming in to help me out, I can stagger their arrival time so that I can save some money there and not lose anything on that first hour. We're streaming in the large sanctuary, and the reason why I put the location was because some of these were in different locations in the building, so I just threw that in the invoice so they have it. And then this includes a live stream director, a camera operator, and then we've got one static wide shot camera and one manned close-up camera. We'll do graphics if the synagogue provides them. So we talked to them in advance when we did our site survey, and they said, yes, we have somebody, a graphic designer who works for us that can make those for you. All the necessary cabling, computers, and this is going to be streamed to Zoom. So it's not streamed in the traditional sense to a platform using the RTMP protocol that we consider live streaming, but we do consider it live streaming as well when we're producing a show and sending it out to Zoom. So that one was billed for $3,075. And then we also mentioned at the bottom that sound is to be provided by a third-party vendor not included in this quote. Again, just to remind you all, I'm going to dig into the numbers behind this all, so I know some of it might seem mysterious at this moment, but just bear with me here in a little bit, and then we're going to show you how we figured out all of these numbers. The second event, Rosh Hashanah morning, so the next day. Now you can notice the price does change quite a bit. It goes from $3,000 down to $1,000. This is 6 hours from arrival to departure, so we're arriving at 8 a.m. We are live at 10 a.m., and we're done by 12:30. 2.5 hour long event using a live stream director, one camera operator, one static wide shot camera, one manned close-up camera, any graphics, of course, and the recording is to be delivered on Google Drive. Sound is, again, to be provided by a third-party vendor. Next, they had a bar mitzvah. Almost the same setup, 6 hours from arrival to departure, pretty much all of the same things that we're including here, and these items are listed below. And finally, there was one more live stream that they asked for, and this was 8 hours from arrival to departure for $2,925. So synagogues, ripe for the taking. Seriously, they are in dire need of people who can live stream and who can live stream consistently, because when the Jewish holidays happen, if you're not Jewish, if you don't know this, there's a lot of them. And it keeps them very busy. And with the new Delta variant with COVID, many people are worried about getting hundreds of people into a room, into one single building. So this is something that has been very, very easy for us to explain the value in what we're providing. Last up, I think we had one more invoice here that we had shown. This one, okay, so this invoice, I know it says 0 at the top. That's actually calculated wrong. This invoice is just under $5,000. So this project was for a completely pre-recorded event. The pre-recorded event is for a nonprofit. It's kind of like their 30th annual fundraiser celebration of being in business for 30 years. And for this particular event, they came to me like 2 weeks prior, and they said, you know what? We realize that we can't do this live because we don't have it together, and we realize that we really need your help, and what we want you to do is pre-produce, so we're going to edit and just create the whole thing in editing, and then we're going to go ahead and play it back as if it's live, because we're not worried about any sort of interaction, any sort of back and forth. This is for our donors to watch. This is to hopefully gain a bigger audience when we stream it on Facebook. So the way we price this out is consulting time. 10 hours of consulting time. This is all the emails, all the back and forth, all the phone calls. Pre-production. We estimated that there would be another 25 to 30 hours of pre-production. Now, I know most people think traditionally that editing is post-production. We're just calling it pre-production because in the general scheme of things, for a live stream, this is all happening before the live stream. So we're billing this at 30 hours at $100 an hour, so $3,000. The client has to provide all the videos, all the photos, all the graphics. We'll create a couple things on our side, but we're going to throw it all and smash it all together and produce one big event. And then, of course, to play back this video as if it were live, we're billing for the live stream, for the pre-recorded video, and that includes a live stream director, our switcher, business class internet out of my office so we can make sure nothing goes down, and video playback to Zoom or the platform of their choice. So it didn't really matter where we were playing this back to because it doesn't really change our cost of doing business. So this project, a very, very different one because it is all completely produced in advance. And I know it doesn't show the total there, but again, we were able to take $2,450 for a deposit. And then on completion, we billed another $2,450. So just shy of $5,000 that we were able to invoice 2 weeks out from the event and get paid immediately as soon as the event was done being live streamed. So another big benefit here that we really need to talk about is the fact that when you're live streaming, you have the opportunity to bill for a deposit because we explain to our clients, look, we're securing contractors, we're securing videographers, we're securing camera operators, we're securing anyone who's going to play that technical director role or production assistants. If we're doing some bigger stage lighting, we might rent some lights from a local company. So we're shelling out money in advance, and we need to make sure that that's not coming out of our pocket. So we bill that in the deposit invoice. And then because the live stream is live, once the event is done, we're able to send that final invoice and say, thank you so much for your business. Here you go. And so that's one of the huge benefits with live streaming is there's no longer, okay, it'll be a couple weeks, we'll get revision, or draft one back to you, or even just a rough cut. And then 2 weeks go by, you get the draft to them, and then they decide to take another, month on revisions, and then they get it back to you. So it's now a month and a half after you were done editing the first round before you're making revisions. And then you've got draft final revision 18 and a half, right? And then finally, when you go to invoice them, they disappear and you don't get paid for like another 45 days until you call them and you're just like, hey, what's going on with that? So this is one of those things where we really love the fact that we can get paid at the time that the project is done. Ocean, I see you in the comments. You said, sadly, my local ones all either have it covered or are orthodox and don't allow tech. So this is one of those things where maybe we are a little closer down to the wire with getting these things covered. Saying that they have it covered too is sometimes an excuse. So it could be that they have someone in-house, right? And that's fine. But that's an opportunity for you to say, well, how is that going for you? How did last year's go? Did you have any problems? Because if you're doing it in-house, sometimes people don't have all the right gear to make it happen. If they say that they have it covered, half the time too, it could just mean that your approach was a little too direct. You might have not built that relationship or that rapport with them, so they don't trust you yet. They don't know what you're capable of yet, or they haven't seen your work and they don't realize that, your setup is going to look a gazillion times better than their iPad that they put up at the back of the room with a ring light, which, true story, the one that I quoted down there, that one, when I walked in for the site survey, they had an iPad on like a tripod with a ring light on it, and it was like 40 feet away from the stage, which I know what you're thinking in the back of your head. Why do you have a ring light 40 feet away from the stage? What is that even doing for you? So there's a lot of opportunities here to not just take no as the answer, but to really build those relationships with people and to start to work your way in. It's not always going to happen directly just by calling them and saying, hey, do you have this covered, right? Because it's like, who is this stranger just calling us out of the blue? So just be careful in your cold approach when you're reaching out to people. So again, if you're watching this live, let me know, #live in the comments. Let me know that you're here. Any questions that you have? Did anything come up for you as you were watching these invoices that I shared with you about pricing? Because in a second here, I'm going to jump back into my computer and show you that in our course in Six Figure Live Streamer, we actually have a pricing sheet that we use as a template to make life way easier to get your pricing done. So how about I switch back over to the computer here and I can show you all what that looks like. Sound good? Let me know in the comments if everyone's still watching, if everyone's paying attention. You want to see that? You want to see that pricing template? Okay, so that pricing template, I've actually got it right here in Excel. This pricing template is a resource that we include in the Six-Figure Live Streamer course. This is just one of the many, many tools that we give out to our students, and I'm basically giving you a sneak peek at this right now. This is the exact sheet that we use. So at the top of the page, it's mostly just client information, so things like client name. If the point of contact, POC, is different than the actual client that needs to be on the invoice, you put their info there. Phone, email, billing address. You can put the event name. You can put the location, start time, arrival time, departure time, deliverable files. So usually if we're delivering something on a hard drive, I'll mention that here. Or if we're delivering via Google Drive, I'll put that in there. Delivery method, and then files due by, which really it's very rare that we're using that, but it's nice to have it in there just for tracking purposes. And thank you, Ocean, that the template is solid gold. I'm so glad that this helped you raise your prices. So I'm going to walk you through. We're going to give you the behind the scenes look here. This is something that we don't normally do, so consider yourselves all very fortunate to be here live with us. If you have questions and you're on the live stream, please ask me those questions. I'm happy to answer. I will say that when it comes to pricing, there's two trains of thought. The first is to price based on value, and the second is to base your prices on time. And basing prices on time is kind of the old way of doing things. I remember when I got out of school and I went to work for Apple, they gave me an hourly price. This is how much you're going to make per hour when you come into work from arrival to departure. And that's important because our contractors still operate that way too. Our contractors we're paying out on an hourly basis. But from the business side, we need to be able to charge for things like, well, business insurance. I'm insured up to $2 million. Where does that fee come out in these prices, right? We're not putting a line item for business insurance. What about electricity at my office? What about the business class internet connection? We have a gigabit internet connection at my office. What about all the computers that I'm using? What about every little expense? The gas that it took to drive to the live stream, the stop that I made for eating lunch because I was going from one shoot to the next. There's all these little expenses that come up as overhead in a business that you need to make sure that you're getting your money back for. This is where the value comes in. We plan our prices to include that value proposition because I know that when I come in and I have $2 million of insurance and Joe Schmo, who's just bought a camera, he's fresh out of college, doesn't have that insurance, that's where the value is coming in. You're getting my professional expertise. You're getting the years that I've been doing this. You're getting my insurance, which is going to give you the peace of mind and might even be a requirement just to get in the building. So this is where the value comes in. We're providing value because of these other things that we're bringing to the table. So when I'm paying for my studio internet, when I'm paying for my studio bills, like I've got, our heating and cooling bill, we've got our electricity bill, all of those things are determined because we're providing that value of having a studio available to our clients. And then that reflects in our pricing. So I like to kind of pull this hybrid position of both value and time. I'm not going to knock the idea of just going straight for value. There are plenty of awesome people out there that teach to basically price based on the value that you're bringing to the table. This is something that I think is much harder for people who are just getting started or just getting their feet wet because they know that they might not be able to provide as much value because they don't have all of that experience. So that's where this hybrid pricing comes in. So let me switch you over. We're going to show you this sheet here. If you have questions as we go, of course, post them in the comments. So I break this sheet down based on pre-production, production, post-production, operators, delivery, travel, and then miscellaneous expenses. So I'm going to go through one by one. Pre-production, and I'll actually zoom in here just for y'all watching on the live stream, make this a little easier to see. There we go. So pre-production, it's not a whole lot. This is covering consulting, calls, and planning, which typically at minimum is somewhere between 5 to 10 hours, even for the smaller live stream events. This includes when the client calls me freaking out at 9 o'clock at night. This includes sending over graphics, and I need to check and make sure that they're actually 1920 by 1080 and that they have a transparent background and it's a PNG and not a JPEG, things like that. Script writing, very rare that we need to do this because oftentimes organizations are providing that, but in the event that we had to play a role in creating the script for the event, we do also offer this up. Site survey. So we love doing our site surveys. We almost never do a live stream sight unseen. And then tech checks are a little bit different. Tech checks are anytime that we're doing a virtual event and we have someone calling in over Skype or Zoom, and we're using the TriCaster system to bring them in virtually and create a much bigger produced event. We're billing for that time to do tech checks with them to make sure that they can get on the call, that their shot looks good, going over composition and lighting. And we do that in advance of the live day of show so that when they call in, they're ready to go. So that's an extra thing that you can bill for that some people don't consider billing for. Streaming unit. So we have access to TriCaster TC2 and TC1 through a colleague of ours locally, a studio right down the street. And for bigger events, when we need to bring them in, we've basically included a price in our sheet for renting one of those for the day. And so this is something that we've put into our sheet, but many of our course members who might not be using that $35,000 piece of live streaming equipment, they don't have to use that. And that's the beauty of this, is we're trying to show the wide variety of pricing based on how expansive of a live stream unit you're using. An older Blackmagic ATEM TV studio that we have and used to use, but honestly now at this point we mostly just use our ATEM Mini Pros or ATEM Mini Pro or ATEM Mini Extremes. We do have a virtual caller unit. This is something that I custom built. You can see my YouTube channel where I made a video on that. That allows me to bring virtual callers into a live stream with the ATEM. And then of course a web presenter. So for just like one camera direct to a live stream, again, with the invention of the ATEM, we really haven't needed the web presenter a whole lot either. So some of this pricing is a little outdated based on the equipment that we have and used to use, but don't really use as much anymore. But we keep this in there just in case it does come up and there's a need for it. Accessories, so tally lights. If we're doing a bigger show and the host needs to know when they're on camera and when they're not, or which camera to look at, we do have a tally light system that we can use. Intercoms. We've got a video from Teradek, so a backup encoder. SDI feeds and outputs for TV or media distribution and cabling. So if we're splitting out a live feed to projector screens or TV screens, we're charging for that. SDI, HDMI, power cabling, we're always bringing those to every single event. We're throwing $50 into this pricing to account for the wear and tear on those cables. So over time, as they break down, we can go ahead and buy another one. Backup encoder, any sort of audio things, so a mixer, microphones, computer audio if we need to take audio out of a computer, cabling, cameras. We're charging for remote wireless cameras, so if we're using like a PTZ camera, unmanned camera, if it's just like a static unmanned or a manned camera, we're billing independently. So $500 on the PTZs, $100 for the unmanned, $125 for the manned. Lighting, so if we need to bring some stage wash, we'll usually bring a couple Aperture 300D lights with the spotlight attachments and we'll light up the stage a little bit. Or if it's just a single spotlight on a podium or a speaker, again, another $100. Computers, we're charging for the computers and for the teleprompter to come with us, post-production, editing, and then operators. So I'm giving you basically a sneak peek into our pricing. We bill $150 an hour for live stream director and technical director, $150 an hour for producer. Videographers, this number is actually a little off. Nowadays we're billing $125 an hour per videographer. Sound mixer gets $100 an hour. Crew chief or a floor director. So if we have a bigger event, they need to manage the talent. We need to have someone out there to manage the talent that's on intercoms with us and can tell them when they're live, when we're going to a video, how much time is left in the video being played back, things like that. Teleprompter operator, $75 an hour. Production assistant, $75 an hour. Delivery, we do charge for delivery, so we'll buy a hard drive for you and ship it to you. Bigger events, if we need to rent a truck, we can rent a U-Haul. Airfare, hotel, travel pay, over 1 to 2 hour distance, we are charging for it. Travel pay daily, so if we have to do a full day of traveling because we're going across the country. Gas, and then miscellaneous expenses, which is mostly meals. So, any questions on what you all are seeing here? This pricing template is basically just multiplying the price, which is either by day or hour, times quantity, giving us a total, and then spitting out the total at the bottom of the page, which right now is just adding up to $7,500 because of the numbers, the various numbers that are in here right now. So how many of you have questions about what you're seeing right here? Or how many of you are looking at this and you're like, yep, needed something like this. Needed this a long time ago. Don't know why we didn't make it. Andy, question from you. Andy says, what percentage of clients want a hard product for delivery? So USB stick, hard drive versus digital. Fantastic question, Andy. You know, what I typically do when I'm talking to the client, and I say this, I say, look, I can send you a Google Drive download of the final recording, and you could be good. But for your event, we pre-produced a lot of stuff. Like I showed you all that one example of the invoice that was about $5,000 completely pre-produced. So we were gathering all these video files. We were creating some slideshows, some animations, some of this, some of that. What I'll tell them is I'll say, look, if you ever want to come back to these files, even if I am not your person, if you go to another editor, you're going to need these raw project files. You're going to need all the original video files, and I can put them on Drive for you, but I'll go look at it and I'll say, well, but it's a 100 gigabyte project. And they'll say, oh, I don't even know if I have enough space for that. I mean, some of these people might be working off of like Chromebooks. Like not everyone just has 100 gigs to go download that, put that somewhere safe. And I let them know that I put this on my Google Drive, but it's not staying there forever. So what I do is I say, look, a 1 terabyte hard drive is like, it's like really like $50 now. But I'll say it's like $75, $100, and I'll FedEx overnight it to you the next day. $200. We'll include it all the time it takes for us to transfer everything over, ship it to you, go into FedEx, done deal. So it's probably at this point, if the event has a lot of content or things we produced prior, it's like 75% of the time they want the hard drive. 25% of the time they'll say Google Drive's good enough, we'll copy it over to our Google Drive, will be good, or we have somewhere else to save it. Now, if there is just the event and they just want the recording, it's like, 90 to 100% of the time that they're just taking the digital download, they're done with it. And usually what I'll do is I'll upload the recording as an unlisted video to my YouTube page if it's something I can't use for my portfolio. Otherwise, I'll upload it to my YouTube as something that's available to the public. And then basically just keep a copy of it on there for them. I'll keep it on a hard drive myself for at least a minimum of a year, just in case. Another question came in. What about costs for online storage and hosting? Do you bill that by client or wrap up the cost into other expenses? Great question. To be honest with you, Google Drive is so cheap. I don't even know what the price is right now because I'm just kind of like on an auto pay. I'm going to actually bring it up here just so everyone can see this. Plans and pricing for Google Drive. So 10 terabytes, $49.99 a month. Honestly, $50 a month. That price is going to come out of some of these other costs that you're billing for, because even though in this spreadsheet I showed you that we might be billing, $150 for a producer or $125 for a videographer, videographers locally are not making $125 an hour unless they're self-employed and have their own business. If they're hired guns, they're typically getting somewhere from $60 to $75 an hour. So even at 75, if we're billing $125, we've got $50 an hour that we're earning. So for every 8-hour event, we're pulling in an additional $400 per camera operator. So this is where that kind of value versus time thing comes in. We've worked that price and that value and that cost into what we're billing for our laborers on an hourly basis, and that's how we're making that back. So for me to eat $50 a month, it's really not that big of a deal. In fact, this summer alone, just the last 3-month time span, we brought in, and when I say we, it's just me, plus a few contractors here and there, $107,000. $107,000 in 3 months' time. So $150, $50 a month for Google Drive, not a big expense, right? Another question, what about tax? Yes, taxes. So in the state of Maryland, we charge sales tax. It's 6%. If you are a nonprofit, which many of our clients are, places like synagogues might be nonprofit. There's also nonprofit organizations we work with. They are tax exempt, so we don't have to bill them tax. Tax is essentially just added once we're in our accounting software and we work this up into an invoice. So those invoices that you saw, actually, I think all 4 of those were nonprofits, so they didn't include sales tax in there. But we would work that into the invoice if it were something that we needed. Mr. Torres, you said, curious to know what percentage amount do you keep as the owner? Does this vary for you, or do you keep it standard with all factored in the spreadsheet? Fantastic question. So what I keep as the owner is, one, if I'm billing as the Livestream director at $150 an hour and I'm playing Livestream director, I will most certainly be pocketing $150 an hour. And then there's all this other money rolling around, right? Because we've billed more than what we're paying out to our contractors. We're billing for the equipment, all these other things. So that money goes into the business. Now, the way my business is set up right now is I'm just an LLC, and essentially I can just take distributions from that income. But when I get to a certain income level, I then have to start filing as an S Corp, and I'll have to take a salary for myself. So then it changes a little bit. That's one of those things where you want to work with a really good accountant to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, and you choose when to change over to that. What accounting software? I use waveapps.com. I'll actually bring that up for y'all here in just a second. Waveapps.com. Let me bring this back in. Waveapps.com. I like Wave. It lets me keep track of not only my expenses, but I can create estimates to send to clients. I can create invoices, and I can take payments from the client all right there with credit card on the spot. I can also email them a PDF. So if they want to send me a check in the mail, they can do that as well. Ivan, damn, I'm late. Will this be available to watch later? Yes, we're not done though. So stay here with me. Yes, you will be able to watch this later. You will be able to rewind this. Mr. Harris, what's going on? You said you determine your prices on the spreadsheet by experience and the cost of the role used. If you don't have experience, by how much do you recommend lowering prices for equipment, etc.? This is a really good question. And actually, we cover this in the course as well, which I'm going to talk about in a second here. So there's no right or wrong, right? Like when I first started my business, I thought I'll charge $25 an hour because it's whatever it was, $4 or $5 more per hour than what I was making when I was working a day job, right? And what happened was I was making like $30,000 a year living at home under my parents' roof. It's not going to work that way, right? So I hired a coach. I spent $10,000 invested in a coach. She said, I want you to double your prices. And I was like, $50 an hour? She said, yeah, double them. So I did. Next client said, yeah, no problem. I was blown away. Went back to my coach. Coach, what do I do? Double them again. You're kidding, right? Like quadrupling my prices from $25 an hour. And she said, yeah, double them again. Doubled to $100. People kept paying it because what I found was the professionals who were doing good work were charging somewhere in the neighborhood of like $100, $150 an hour. So it actually wasn't that far off after I'd been in business for 2 or 3 years and I'd kind of gotten my feet wet. But if you're just starting, again, there's really no right or wrong. How do you determine, is it $18 an hour versus $75 an hour? To be honest with you, I don't think you should be charging any less then, I would determine a half-day rate and a full-day rate. I think regardless, you should be making sure that you're getting $500 on a half-day event at the very, very lowest, and $1,000 for a full day. Again, remember, you are a business owner. You are not a contractor that's, billing another videographer. If you are, that's where you need to work out rates with them. But if you are a business owner, you have a lot of other expenses to cover. So I would determine what is a rate that you won't get out of bed for. For me personally, when I got moving, it was $500. If I don't earn $500 in a day to work whatever the event was, whatever gig it was, it's not worth it for me. And for every 5 projects that you say no to, it's going to open up the door for one project that's going to pay you maybe $500 an hour. It's possible. Some of my live streams, when you crack down the numbers, have been $500 per hour for the work that I'm doing. So I know you're looking for a specific dollar amount. I know you're like, what number makes the most sense? I think bare minimum, you should be making $500 for a half day. So you should work out your pricing based on that. Some people might say higher. I bet you if Paul's still watching, I don't know if he's still on right now, but Paul would probably say, you should build $1,000 for a half a day. I don't know. Maybe Anthony would say that too. Really, at the end of the day, figure out what is the bare minimum price that I will not get up out of bed for a half day and a full day event. And then work your way from there into the numbers to determine the value for those numbers. Cool? Andy said you can also do a quarterly K1 distribution. Yes, under an S Corp. So again, I don't have an S Corp just yet. I'm basically, it's one of those things where my accountant's been bugging me for like 2 years, and he's like, you need to file as an S Corp. And I just didn't want to go through with it because there was some other paperwork and stuff that had to happen. But yes, so you can, there's other ways to work the system. And again, that is all stuff I leave to my accountant. That is all stuff that I'm like, you do this, I'm going to do what I do behind the camera. Yeah. So with everything going on here, with all of you watching, any questions, anything else that's coming up for you? Before we go, I want to talk to you about a unique opportunity that some of the people watching right now have actually taken us up on, and some of us watching right now don't know about yet. And that opportunity is Six-Figure Live Streamer. Basically, what we've done is we've packaged up not only the how-to for how to live stream, what equipment to use, everything A to Z. And we haven't just done that, but we've also included trainings that explain the difference between doing these virtual events, these hybrid events, these all-in-person events, these pre-produced ones where you're just basically making a video and playing it back as if it's live. We teach you how to do all of that. And what I've done is I've partnered up with Paul Xavier, and Anthony Gallo, and we've created Six-Figure Live Streamer. It's now part of the content creator family. And if you head on over to contentcreator.com right now, and you go ahead and scroll about halfway down on the page, you're going to see Six-Figure Live Streamer. And I'm not even asking you to buy right now. I'm giving you more free stuff. We have an awesome training that's included here on this page for content creator community friends and family and all of you in the Facebook group that are watching this. We've got this opportunity available for you to go through the free training. The video is right here on the page. I want you to head on over there after this live stream ends, and I want you to check out this free training that we made for you because, as you could see in this training that we did today, I'm a giver. That's what I'm about. I am all about giving and teaching and explaining because I want you to succeed. Now, it could be easy to sit behind the computer, behind the keyboard, and say, why does Zephan want me to succeed? He doesn't even know me. We've never shook hands in person. We haven't built a relationship. And here's why. So I left my full-time job to start my production company a few years back, 2013. And a couple years into business, I was still struggling. I had hired a coach. I had spent a lot of money. I wasn't making what I was worth. And I went to the gym one day, right? Like, invest in your health, invest in yourself, work on you, right? And I lifted the weight. I got halfway off the ground. I It wasn't a weight that I hadn't done before. It wasn't new to me. And I got halfway off the ground. I was doing a deadlift and I stopped here. So like deadlift, you go down, you pick up the weight and you come back up. I stopped here. And I felt my back just froze. Every muscle in my body seized up. I dropped the weight. I could not stand up straight. And what happened to me was I actually herniated 2 discs in my lower back. And this is something that happened to my father, not from weightlifting, but from life. Was just in an instant, his body was essentially taken out from under him. And not only that, but he actually wound up paralyzed for nearly 6 months after a botched surgery on it. And my fear was that my fate could be the same thing. The reality is that this is something that could happen to any of us. Y'all are out there lifting heavy gear. Some of you younger than me, some of you older than me. Some of you probably already have a bad back because we all sit at computers hunched over editing, right? The reality is that our health, our happiness, these things could be pulled out from under us. We saw it happen with the pandemic. There were people who had a job one day and had no income the next. And live streaming is something that I actually started to do before Facebook Live existed. We've been live streaming for about 7 years now. And what I found was that live streaming was an amazing opportunity to help people, to help businesses, to help nonprofits, to help organizations to build their brand, to build their audience, to reach more people. We actually did a live stream for an organization that used to get 500-600 people in seats. They got 14,000 people registered for a live stream when we took their event virtual. I found that live streaming was something where it was no longer a challenge to explain the value of what you're bringing to the table. Now, how does that relate back to me and my health scare and everything else? Well, and income. To be honest with you, when I doubled down on live streaming and when I just focused on offering that as a service, my income skyrocketed. It went from having the year I got married, actually, I only earned $86,000, and that was before expenses and taxes and everything else, maybe pocketed like $45,000 if I was lucky. It took my income from something like that to this year, pulling in $107,000 in a 3-month time span over the summer. And I now have a multi-6-figure business, and it's just me. There's no team, no employees, no overhead. And so the reason why I want this for you is because I want you to be able to feel that security of knowing that this is something that has proven to be pandemic-proofed. This is something that has proven to give a much bigger income than simply just going out, filming, editing. And it's something that you can do in a much shorter period of time. So that if anything else ever happened again, if you ever got to a place where you felt like the world could be pulled out from under you, that you would have that security in knowing that you have a business that's successful, that keeps sending clients in through the door so you don't have to hunt them down on Thumbtack or Upwork or Fiverr or Craigslist. And that's what 6-Figure Live Streamer is. Our goal is to give you as many tools as we possibly can so that you can build a 6-figure business for yourself. So that's my spiel. If you're interested, go to contentcreator.com. It's right here. I'll bring it back up on screen again. Contentcreator.com. Watch that free training. And then once you get through that training, I want you to go ahead and scroll down below and look at all these things that we have included in this course. It's actually a 14-day curriculum. You can see the entire curriculum from here. You can even go through each individual module and see what's in here. 14-day curriculum, and that includes the tools that we mentioned today. So I showed you a sneak peek of that pricing calculator. You saw a little bit of that pricing calculator today. That's in here. The Excel sheet is available, ready to download. And you know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to take you back to the website. I'm just going to play this 25-second video from Ivan, and I want you to hear what he had to say. So just hang tight 1 sec.
So right before taking Zephan's course, I landed over $50,000 worth of live stream clients, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to fulfill it. But after going through the six-figure live streamer course with Zephan, I was able to get through it. And here I am today to say you should get the course right now.
So that was what Ivan had to say. And here you can see below, we've got some screenshots from our tutorials. You're actually going to get like an overhead shot so you can see all the buttons that I'm pressing. You're going to see exactly how I do things with the technology that we're recommending. You're going to get a 30-day marketing plan. You're going to get access to discounts on course software, so things like Adobe Creative Cloud, that pricing calculator that you saw there, and me. I'm your instructor. So thank you all for watching today. Thank you all for those of you who are actually members of Six Figure Livestreamer. I'm really excited to see what you're going to do in the next year. I'm really excited to share new things with you as I learn them along the way, because I'm out here in the field, not just some mentor who made a course and just said, we're going to just try to sell this. I'm out here in the field each and every single day doing this. I had live streams every day this week. I even showed you one of the invoices from one of them. And I just want you to know that I'm walking the walk and I'm talking the talk. I'm right here in the trenches with you. So thank you all for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, I want you to do one final thing. Leave me a comment on this live stream to tell me one big thing that you learned today, or one big thing that excites you moving forward. I'm going to hang out here because I want to see what you say, and then we'll head out for the day. So just one big thing that excites you moving forward, or one big thing that you pulled from today's training. Let me know in that comment section. Finn says the course is awesome. Thank you, Finn. Really, really happy to have you in our course. I'm really excited to see what you're going to do with it. And I'm so glad that you're watching the live stream today. Thanks for checking this out. I mean, everything from the course we're putting into play right here. All the technology. It's actually, you can see it. We'll zoom out a tiny hair there. There it is right there. That's the ATEM Mini Extreme that's running this whole show behind the scenes, feeding my DSLR camera into it, feeding my computer into it. Just got my mic run into a little sound mixer back here for my audio. You can see my studio back there behind that. How much is the live streamer course? Fantastic question. So let me bring this back up for you real quickly. So I'm not hiding the price here. The website is contentcreator.com. And as soon as you go to contentcreator.com, all you do is just scroll about part of the way down the page and you'll see Six Figure Live Streamer. And you just click on it right here. And so this course is available to you with, of course, a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And if you're interested in enrolling, we have two options. A one-time only payment of $497. And that's it. One payment and you're in. And if some of you are thinking, you know what, I'm close, right? Like I want in, I want to do this. I don't quite have $500. You can actually do a two payment of $274. You can enroll in Six Figure Live Streamer today with one payment today of $274. And then in a month, we're going to charge one more payment to the same card of $274 as well. So it makes it more accessible to you, gives you more time to get some of that gear, to get through the training, get a couple extra dollars so that you can make that second payment. But we're really making this as accessible as possible to each and every single one of you. And we want to make this available to as many people as we possibly can. So the link, I'm going to go ahead and actually type it into the comments for you here, okay? Just in case you missed it. The link's right here. It's in the comments. It's contentcreator.com. One more comment. Oh, we got some comments coming through. One big thing that excites me is having a pandemic-proof service that will bring value to businesses and help me grow mine. Yes, 100%. This is something that's going to help you grow your business too. All of these things that we're teaching in here are things that you can go and put into play for your business as well. So the same strategies that you're going to use for your clients, you can actually turn around and use it for yourself. So with that, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning into this live stream. I am so grateful for each and every single one of you. And I'm really excited to see what the next year has in store for you. So thank you.